All right, welcome back everyone to another new episode of Grow Your Path to Wellness. Last week, I had the honor of being on the other side of the dialogue, and I was the guest last week, so that was fun. This week, Amanda, my co-host, she's engaging in some self-care time today, so it's just going to be me chatting with Heather. So, Heather Viering, did I say it right? Viering.
Yes.
Neither one of my last names. I never got like easy last names to pronounce, my maiden name and my married name. So sorry. Heather, so she's in the midst of getting her bachelor's of social work degree. So that's super exciting. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. So excited.
All of us, even though Amanda's not here, we both are super passionate about what we do and, you know, the different aspects of what makes social work and why we're so passionate about it. So to just start out, if you don't mind giving our community just a little like introduction about maybe your background, any other areas of wellness or your current roles and just wellness overall.
Okay, so my name is Heather Viering. I'm 29. This is the second time that I'm going back to school. I have my associates in criminal justice. And I don't really have a whole lot of background in social work other than the fact that I advocated for both of my autistic brothers, and before my mom passed away, I was her health advocate. Anything that she needed, I was there, and I was the one that was always helping. So other than just, advocating for others, knowing resources, always being that person that everyone's asking, for those resources, I don't have any, I guess you could say, professional, but it's something I'm super passionate about, and I have been for a long time. I'm just now getting my license.
Good for you. So you've had your own, you've kind of developed these skills and used them, which we see a lot of us going into the field. We all have our own life experiences and stuff, and we'll get into what made you choose it in a second as your major in college, but it just sounds like you felt drawn to it. Is that fair? You kind of were always that person that was looking into, okay, what's needed? What's next? What do we need to do?
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Okay, so let's get into that real quick. So what made you choose social work as your degree when you were like, I'm going to go back? And I heard you say criminal justice, and of course they can build off one another very well, but so what was that path of thinking? What led you to choose social work?
So like I said, I was advocating for my both my brothers. I'm the one, anything that they need as far as doctor's appointments go, job family services, any kind of resources go. I'm always that talking person. I'm always a number that they give out, talk to my sister. Here's a paper, I'll sign a paper, talk to her. Because with autism, they have very high anxiety. They have very high social anxiety. A lot of times, even though they might know what to say, when the pressure's on them, they don't know how to say that. Yes. So been that person. And again, for my mom, she went through a lot. And she was, unfortunately, had a lot of different health issues and health problems. So, that person that, okay, well, what's the next step? Well, what do we have to do to get there? Okay, well, what resources does she need? Does she need any appliances or equipment so that she can live comfortably at home? Always that in-between person. I've always been that person. So with doing it, I'm just not getting paid for it, and I love doing it. So it was just kind of why not get paid for what I love doing anyway? So it was just
being good at it and passionate about advocating for somebody who either struggles doing that themselves or for whatever reason can't do that for themselves.
Exactly.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I felt like we had a delay there. Okay, so just very, very passionate. And where are you at in your program? Are you just starting? Where are we at with it?
Because I have an associate's degree, I already had a lot of gen ed credits that could be transferred over. So a lot of those tests I've kind of already had credit for. I've gotten them out of the way this year. I'm going into my junior year, so a lot of those core classes and things like that will be coming And that's where I'm at in this journey.
Very cool. Okay. Are you doing this is kind of a little off of our path, but how has it been impacted by the ongoing pandemic, like your courses and stuff?
Of who I am and what I do, and I have, as you guys seen her in the background, my little girl. I'm a single mom, and I was at the beginning of the pandemic working full time and all these things. But my good friend Amanda, who's, obviously not here today, but she pushed me and she was like, well, why not start now? Because I was talking about it. She's like, well, if you're going to wait, like, do you want a degree in 4 years or do you want a degree in 8 years? Because at the end of the day, you're still going to get it. So I pushed myself and I did it. And I decided, because of everything that I already had going on, that I was just going to go online. So thankfully, the pandemic hasn't changed anything. Not for me, because I had already decided I was going to go online. So when they decided everything was going to go online, I mean, I wasn't going in class or anything like that. So
Oh, very good. Look at you. Like, and I'm always big on, not necessarily that everything happens for a reason, but a lot of things sounded like they just kind of lined up for you, and it just took Amanda, or just a little bit of shift in perspective and say, that time's going to pass anyway, and I know that I can do this. So with all that being said, what would you say have been like your biggest challenges, or kind of the things that's come across your path going back to college this second go around?
Okay, so I think that the biggest challenge for sure, because it's 2020, the kids are not in school, everything's virtual. My biggest challenge, honestly, is probably balancing my schooling, my daughter's, my life, my work, still having bills, all that. But I feel like it's no different from anyone else doing any other program. If you're going to be a mom and you're going to go back to school, you're going to have those challenges. You're going to have, those hurdles, those things that you have to adjust, whether they were going to school in person or going virtually. So I think that just knowing how to manage your time, thankfully my daughter is 7, so she kind of understands a little bit. Hey, mommy's going to school. I love you. Go play with your dolls. Go watch a video. Go do whatever you need to do. And she is very good at occupying herself in a positive way. So I don't worry about that at all. She's very respectful. So any videos that she goes upstairs and watches on her TV, I don't feel like I have to be, constantly watching what she's doing. So thankfully I have that. But I think that would be the biggest challenge, is just that, we as mothers and as students and as people in general, we have 50 million other things going on. Whether you're a mom, whether you're not, whether you, live by yourself or live with your parents or have roommates or whatever, you always have another life other than school. But knowing that you have to prioritize your school, and I always tell my dad and tell other people, I'm paying thousands of dollars to get this degree. I'm going to take this very seriously. Like, so that's just, to me, I feel like you have to take it very seriously, because why are you spending all this money if you're not going to? That's just me personally. And obviously, I mean, I'm in therapy myself. I know you guys spoke before about helpers getting help, or therapists getting, going to therapy is very important. All those burdens, all that stress from me being a single mom, me having my daughter going to school, me going to school, working, all the things like that all builds on you, right? So you still have to manage to go to your appointments, manage to stay above the wellness line, manage to do all these things. But I think that if someone is, how do you say, just passionate about what you're going into, you're obviously going to take it very seriously.
Yeah, it sounds like you really did some of your own work, like about your mindset and your expectations of yourself going into that, which I love.
Yeah, and knowing that I'm not a perfect person. So last term, like, I did algebra, and algebra is so hard. I don't know. I want to say, you're not going to go into therapy and be like your social worker or whoever's going to be like, well, hold on, let's talk about how X equals Y. Like, what? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Me and like statistics. I was like, wait, what? Like,
it wasn't the easiest thing, but knowing that, look, just get through it and it'll be okay. Like, you don't have to have A's and B's. Like, it's okay to get a C if it's passing. Like, if that's what you do, like, don't burden yourself down with giving yourself bigger expectations than what you think that you can handle. Like, you know what you can do. If math is not your thing, like, don't be like, I'm about to get 100% every time, because you're not. Like, I mean, not to say that you can't, but you're like, if it's hard for you, you know, a 90 is gonna be okay. An 87 is gonna be okay. You know, just try your best. And my daughter came home and she said something that will always stick with me. She said her librarian would always do this, say, try your best. Like, do your best. You have to do. Like, just do your best. Kept that with me, like, ever since. Like, she's in 2nd grade now, and that's something that I remember, because, look, and I'm tearing up. But so if you give your kids praise and you give, you know, you input, they are gonna output what you input into them. And it is like something that's so real, so very real. Like, the best thing that I think that has like really shown me that and proved to me that what you input in your kids come out of them is just say, I got a letter saying that my daughter is gifted in language arts. And since she was a baby, I've read to her. Read to your kids. Like, sit down with them. Like, if they're struggling, it's okay. Like, I always tell my daughter, if you don't know that word, it's fine. What is S mean? Go back to the basics. And that can even be with us adults. Go back to your basics. Yes. Go back to the basics. Go back to when you added and subtracted in algebra. You know, go back to your basics. Because if you can go back to your basics, you're going to know that you have this. You have a foundation that you've planted and that you've nurtured. And you can grow wonderful things out of that soil. Yes. So you go back to your basics, like I tell my daughter, you know, wonderful, wonderful things can happen.
You go back to your basics without judgment, too. Like, you're not shaming yourself because you had to go back to the basics or kind of backtrack and refresh or something. It is what it is, and you will have more growth if we can put that judgment aside.
Right.
So what do you feel like have you experienced any kind of shift in perspective or way of thinking since starting your program?
For sure. For sure. So I just got done with my intro to social work class. I took we do terms at Malone University where I go. So we do term A, or fall A, fall B, and it's 7 weeks, where a normal semester is 14. So it's like my intro to social work class is 14 weeks because you have an internship and stuff like that. I mean, that's obviously not going to be sufficient. 7 weeks isn't going to be sufficient for that. So, in that class, it really helped me put some things in perspective. Yeah. One of the main things is just, as I know you've seen before the recording, but my daughter is, she's African American, she's Caucasian, so she's mixed. Mm-hmm. Something that is really hard, going back to that was a struggle for me, is her dad is not involved in her life. So as a Caucasian woman, I understand that there's bias towards African American people, but like when I went through that class, it just blew my mind as how many avenues and perspectives and things that it's not just African American people are, there's a bias against them with the criminal justice system. It's about drugs. It's about all sorts of different things. And as her mother, it is my job, since she doesn't have the other side of her family, to input everything into her. Not just her Caucasian heritage, but also her African American heritage. So I really sparked a fire that, was already there as like a kindling, if you will. Sure. And when you go to, a campfire, you have your small fire. was like it threw gasoline on top of what I already had going on.
I love.
Hold on a minute. Like, you will not be a statistic. You will not be this, but you will know what's going on. And hopefully, I pray, she's 7 now. So I pray that, in 11 years when she turns into an adult, that things are changed. Unfortunately, change takes a lot of time. So it's not a promise. So because it's not a promise, she needs to be educated. So that like really changed my perspective. And not, I mean, like, again, I already knew that there was a bias, right? But it changed my perspective is knowing how much of a bias that there is, like in how many different areas that there is.
Like widened, is that a word? Widened? I think it is. That perspective, like it's something you, like you said, you had and you knew was there and you always make it a priority, but it like gave you more information, more things to work with and say, okay, like your toolbox got a little bit bigger, those things that you wanted to make sure to give to her.
Yeah, I got so much more. And then another thing that I would say that has changed my perspective on is charity. So we read this book called Toxic Charities. If anybody out there ever wants to pick up that book, it is a great book.
We'll have it in the notes too. What is it?
Called Toxic Charities.
Ooh, okay. Continue.
And it just talks about how people, like, when you go over to different countries, you go over there and you give them all these things, but is that really what they needed? Like, did you ask them what they needed, or did you just go over there and assume that they needed a waterway, so they went and did, so you gave them a better way of getting water, but that may not actually have been what they needed. Or even on an American soil, when you see different agencies going into a neighborhood and they are helping, but are they really helping? Did you ask the people who are in the neighborhood what they need?
Right.
It's really changed my perspective on that. Like, hold on, wait. So even though your intentions are good, they can be bad.
Right.
Like, you go into something with good intentions, but that doesn't mean that it's good intent. Like, that it's actually for the good of the people supposed to be helping.
I think that's kind of, in a way, stepping outside of our own privilege.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And saying, I have the privilege of seeing this from a distance, and this is what I'm seeing. So that has to be what they need. And it's like, that's probably usually not how that works, but being able to step outside of that, meet them where they're actually at.
Exactly. Yeah. And if you just take a moment to ask somebody, what are your needs? They have a voice and they will tell you.
Right. What do you need? What can I do?
Yeah. So that was a big one for me so far.
I feel like that's important for us as social workers, because we get so passionate, like we've been saying, about advocacy and change and all of these things, but sometimes you can get so caught up in that you don't start from the correct place.
Right.
Building that foundation for that advocacy.
Exactly. So those are two very big things that have changed for me.
I love that. Okay. And all from your intro class. You have so many good things coming.
Yeah, the first 2 years is mainly like gen ed and like your intro classes. But so I'm so excited to see what other things I'm going to learn about and what other things are going to like shift for me, because I want to be the best social worker that I can be.
Right. And I hear you saying, like, I'm taking these things that it's making me, because our title for our interview today was the makings of a social worker. So it's not just that it's going to make you a more well-rounded social worker, but in our practice, we have to apply these things ourselves in our own personal life. And I hear you saying that as well.
Yeah.
So, very cool. Okay. So let's get into, what information do you feel like you would love to tell others if they're considering the social work degree program or avenue?
I would say first, reflect on your life. Make sure it's a decision for you. Something that my dad wanted to make sure that he talked to me about is the fact that social workers don't make a lot of money. They don't. But it's not a field that you go into because you're wanting to make money. Like, if that's what you're looking for, like, it's not what it's going to be. Social work is a field that you go into because you want to help people.
Yeah.
And I told him that. I said, I know that I'm not going to make a lot of money, but I want to help people. And that's what I'm passionate about. And he said, well, if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life.
Right.
So that really stuck with me. Like, I just want to do what I love, because I don't want to go have a job that I am dragging my feet in the morning to do. I want to have a job that I jump out of bed because I'm so excited to go help that next person.
Yeah.
I can't get to work. Like, rather than, okay, let me stop at Starbucks. Okay, what do I have to do? And you're literally dragging through your morning. Like, we've all had those jobs, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm going to spend all this money to do something, I want to spend all this money to do something that I love and that I will be excited to do every day of my life.
Yes, absolutely. So to those expectations, what's my expectation from this? And in our field, I feel like we have so much in the beginning, as it were, the student area of things. And then you get a little bit further in and maybe your first job, then it's like, okay, I'm supposed to be a generalist and work with everyone. And it can be overwhelming. And I think that checking our expectations and saying, why did I choose this field? What do I want from it? Like you said, reflecting on what led you up to that point. And because we can do what we love and in the social work field, but it definitely has some limitations and different levels of it. So I like that you brought that up.
And I can also say, if you get to the point and you're like, that is what I want to do it. Don't wait. Like, literally, the best thing anyone has ever told me is, why wait? Why? Because whether you start now or you start later, you're going to have that, but you're going to have your license. But if you, why wait? So if you don't wait, that means that the faster you can be out there, the faster you can do it, and the faster you can start doing what you love to do. Like, if that's what you want to do, just do it. Just do it.
I love that, because it's, instead of asking yourself why, it's important to ask yourself, why do I want this? But also saying, why not pursue this now? If it's something that's been coming up very often for you. And in the field, the more and more that you find those areas that you're passionate about, and that takes time, for some people it doesn't take time. We're passionate about the work we do, but sometimes you can really hone in on what we call like a niche or a population that you feel like you can give them all of the things that they really need. And you find yourself feeling so fulfilled by working with a specific population. And I feel like can be important, and you can harness that into, what can I do with this moving forward? And, so there's so many different avenues. That's why I love social work. And one reason why I love social work, because it is so broad, like I can go into it with one perspective, and like how you experience that perspective shift. And then you can find yourself seeing all of these different offshoots of, holy cow, like there's hospitals, schools, and just so many different areas that you can, take things based on what you're passionate about.
Yeah, and I would say, like, don't be in a rush to figure out what that niche is.
Yes, that's why I said, oh my gosh, it can take time. Don't be in a rush. Amen.
Like, my first internship was the best thing ever. I worked with kids, with different people. I did different things out in the community. It was with an organization here in Akron called South Street Ministries. Like, it's a really great ministry. But don't be in a rush to find that niche either. Like, because you're going to do different internships, and they always put you in a different internship in a different thing. So, like, I worked with kids and did things with that internship. My next internship might be, with, the homeless, or it might be with, impoverished families, or it might be, with battered women's shelters or something like that. But you're always going to do something different so that you can know by your senior year or by the end of your senior year what you want to do. But don't be in a rush, because you want to get all those different, experiences. Now, if you do find what you love, like right off the bat, like that's cool, but also be open to different experiences too. because you never know. Like, you might be like, yeah, that's what I want to do. I know that's what I want to do. And then you go and you work with, I don't know, addiction or something like that, or work with elderly, and you're like, but I love that too. Like,
Yes.
that's okay, because there's a thing like
science all the time. Two things can be true at the exact same time.
exactly. Don't be in a rush. Give yourself time. Fill everything out. Like, volunteer places, you know. So that's what I would say.
In that program, like in the social work program, I remember it like it was yesterday, because it is that opportunity to have that kind of support network around us. Not that we don't have a support network when we're out of college and in the field per se, but you have a different kind of support, you know, network behind you, and you're learning so many different things. So let yourself be where you're at with it. Because I would catch myself jumping ahead and saying, you know, like you said, not even if it was finding a niche or just overanalyzing everything, or, you know, putting expectations on myself that, you know, I have to be an outpatient clinician at a community mental health facility because I feel like that's what's around me. And then in that student experience was where I learned, like, holy cow, like there's all kinds of things, all kinds. And you can take that as an opportunity to really get in there and see if, and learning that something isn't for you is still learning, because you wouldn't have known that otherwise.
Yeah, exactly. You need to know what you like and you need to know what you don't like, because you don't want to, like, for me, like, I love kids, but working with kids, I don't think that that's for me. Like, but knowing what's not for you, like, if, you know, like, it goes back to what I was saying, do what you love. So if you don't love working with kids,
right,
don't work with kids, like, you know, or if you know, if you know what you don't like, it just becomes easier with your.
Yeah, it goes back to that judgment and stuff that we touched on a minute ago, because in our field, it's so important to be able to recognize and acknowledge those things. I wouldn't even call it weak points. It's just, what am I the most, you know, not just passionate, but it's hard to, what do I feel the most filled up by every day, the way I describe it. And if working with kiddos does not make you feel that way, like you said, then you're not going to be able to be the clinician for them probably that they need. So we're doing ourselves and them a disservice by, you know, saying, okay, well, this is what I told myself I was going to do, when it doesn't have to be that way.
Exactly. And social work is one of those wonderful fields that there's so many different avenues, like from elderly to addiction to homeless to home impoverished families to, you know, working with the foster care system or something like that, to so many different avenues. That's just, you don't have to limit yourself to one. And it's, if you don't like one and like one, another one better, like, it's all right.
Right. And I learned from, just for myself, that I learned so much from community mental health and working with very broad, you know, populations with different needs. And never in a million years in the beginning would I have told myself that I would have started my own private practice. But I didn't hang on. I got to a place where I didn't hang on to that. And I was like, holy cow, kind of in private practice now, guys. Like, and that's okay for things to shift over time too. So, okay. Any final words for our audience, our community, anything that you want to make sure to put out there and leave people with?
For sure. So first off, always give yourself time. Just give yourself time. Don't rush in anything. Don't do anything that you are second guessing. If you're second guessing it, 9 out of 10, it's if it's not a full body yes, then it's a full body no. Like, it's just how. Secondly, I am going into my junior year. You know, I have a lot of passions, and one of those passions are the homeless individuals. It's becoming cold outside, especially here in Akron, Ohio. We just had a big storm again last night. So I've decided this year that I wanted to start a drive with, you know, getting some different items out there, with them having to face the elements. Like, just because there's homeless shelters, they become filled up so quickly that there's still individuals that have to face this weather day in and day night.
Yeah.
or out rather. So I am getting, I am asking for donations of hats, gloves, scarves, socks, coats, hand warmers, feet warmers, all the blankets, all the things that can help them. Because I don't mean to like sound really like down, but there is a lot of homeless people that actually unfortunately pass away every year
Yeah.
because they have these things. Because hypothermia is a real thing. Because you can't, if you don't have what you don't have, you can't help yourself.
Yeah.
So I'm just give them the items to help them.
Mm-hmm.
Because unfortunately, as we know as social workers, some people just decide that that's what they want to live. That's the life that they want to live.
Sure.
But we, being fortunate enough to have a home, to have clothes, to have a jacket, some people just aren't fortunate enough to have that. So I am going to ask Kelsi to leave the information to contact me, via email. If you would like to donate, please do. There's so many people out here that need help. So many. But not just in Akron, and if you're somewhere else, initiative to maybe, do something small, and help the other people and the homeless people that are around you. So that's kind of what I would like to leave you guys with.
Gosh, I love that. That's
It's a heavy topic, but it's very real.
Do they have like a timeline? I know we can include different things in the show notes. We can include your email. I don't know if we can attach the flyer, but if we can or we can't, can you tell me, like, is there a deadline that you stop accepting any kind of donations?
Let me look at my phone. I'm sorry, I don't have everything memorized. I'm not perfect. You
I
guys.
love this though, because
Not perfect. Okay, so like I said, yeah, gloves, preferably waterproof, because snow melts.
yeah,
If those gloves get cold or get wet, and then they get cold, and then they could get frostbite, and frostbite could possibly end up losing a finger. Like really, that's could possibly happen. So, waterproof preferably. Anything helps though. Hats, coats, hand and feet warmers. Like I said, socks, scarves, blankets. I just wanted to go over that list again now that I'm looking at it, make sure I have everything.
yeah.
And then I am accepting the donations until December 27th. And then distribution will happen on the 28th through the 29th, because it's just a one-man show right now.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna get out there and start donating those right away, because the sooner they have them, the better. So
Perfect. And then we'll, like we said, we'll attach your email. Do you mind just go ahead and saying your email out loud for people in case they don't go to the show notes?
Simple. Is heatherviering@gmail.com. This is my first one.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Heather. Was there anything else that you wanted to make sure to touch on before we wrap up today?
Just the subject that they do send an email out of as drive, because I obviously get spam emails like everybody else. So, but I can search it, and if you put the subject as drive, I can search drive, and then all those emails will pop up.
Okay.
So I think that's the last thing though.
All righty. Well, again, like I said, thank you so much for being here and sharing, your journey of, where you want to go, not just where you want to go, but kind of what led you up to where you're at right now. So for those tuning in, please remember to like, subscribe, and share our content with friends, family, coworkers, anybody. Just put the more that people put out there, the bigger reach that we have. So next week, our guest will be Tom Kostura. So our very own Amanda's partner. He will, it'll be after 5 p.m. next Sunday, and he will be talking on the topic that I feel like should be talked about so much more, and that is all about men's mental health.
Yes, it needs to be talked about more. Yes.
So tune in, like we said, next Sunday after the holidays, 5 p.m. on Sunday. But thank you, Heather, so much. And if you ever want to come back and join us again, please let us know, because we'd love to have you.
I will definitely check in.
All right. Take care, guys. Bye.